Right then, Chapter 10, the first harmonic circles. Hello and welcome. I am absolutely delighted you're joining me for this masterclass explainer. As the author of Guitarra Fácil para Todos, I've had the immense privilege of guiding countless students through their very first strums, watching them navigate those early, frustrating hurdles of the fretboard. But today, we are embarking on something truly special. So sit back, perhaps with your instrument resting quietly on your lap, and let's begin. I want you to reflect deeply, just for a moment, on the journey you've taken to get here. Think about it. You've battled through those early days of building calluses. You've actually mastered the essential rhythm. You've memorized those initial, incredibly stubborn chords, and you've learned the vital discipline of proper tuning. You know, you have indeed reached a magical point. Because what you're about to uncover today isn't merely another technical exercise. No, you are about to discover the invisible architectural structure that literally holds up thousands upon thousands of modern songs, from the 1950s right through to the music we hear today.
So let's dive straight into this fundamental concept. What exactly is a harmonic circle? It is, quite simply, a succession of chords that repeats itself and, crucially, makes complete musical sense. When you play through this sequence and arrive at the final chord, a rather remarkable psychological thing happens. Your human ear naturally, almost unconsciously, asks to start the sequence over again. It's exactly like breathing in and out, really. The music itself is taking a breath, absolutely demanding to continue its cycle.
And this brilliantly illustrates what I like to call the wheel of music. I want you to picture a beautifully crafted, perpetual wheel in your mind. It turns, and the true beauty of it is that every single rotation sounds just as magnificent and balanced as the last. Because of this unending, rolling nature, nearly all the songs you know and love, pop, ballads, rock, those light acoustic tracks, they are built entirely upon one or more of these continuously turning harmonic circles.
But before we set this wheel in motion, we really must ground ourselves in our physical memory. Everything we do in this chapter relies heavily on that double rhythm we conquered in our previous lessons. Do you remember it? Down, down, up, down, up. Or, as I so affectionately prefer to vocalize it with you while physically tapping it out, pampa-pampa, papa-pum, pampa-pampa, papa-pum. Let your right hand recall that sweeping motion right now. That, my friends, is the engine of our wheel.
Now, just to make absolutely sure we're speaking the same simple language throughout this session, let's define our terms. Look, in formal music theory, a bar, or compás, involves a rather strict 4/4 time signature. But please, do not worry about that. I promise you, we are completely bypassing all of that complex theory today. For us, a bar is highly practical. It simply means executing one complete cycle of our double rhythm before you even think about changing to the next chord. One full pam-pam-pam-pam-pam. That's it. That is our easy working definition of a bar.
Okay, let's move on to our practice method and see how this all builds together. To truly master these circles, we have to employ a highly structured approach. We're going to work with what I call a fixed gear. This simply means that, at first, every single chord will last for the exact same amount of time. Why do we do this? Well, by completely removing the guesswork of duration, we automate the mind and the hands. You won't have to overthink, your muscle memory will just take over. So, let's break this down into 3 progressive phases. In phase 1, you will linger on each chord for 3 whole bars. This allows your left hand to gain ultimate control and security. It's a safe space. Once that feels completely comfortable, phase 2 reduces the duration to 2 bars per chord, which starts challenging you to build agility. And finally, phase 3 requires just 1 bar per chord. When you reach this final phase, you're aiming for complete, effortless fluidity. That is exactly when you know the exercise is truly mastered.
Right then, let's put this into practice with our first sequence, the circle of C, which has our classic blueprint.
This is the absolute classic amongst classics. When you play it, you'll immediately notice a deeply familiar, balanced, and beautifully round sound resonating straight from the body of your guitar. The sequence consists of 4 chords. First, C major, followed by A minor, moving to D minor, and finally, resolving on G dominant 7. Think of these 4 chords as members of a very close-knit family. They share similar notes, they physically support one another on the fretboard, and they have a shared, undeniable destiny.
And that shared destiny is what we call returning home. When you transition from that tense G7 chord all the way back to the starting C major, there is a profound emotional sensation of relief and resolution. The music simply seems to build itself. And you know the most wonderful part? Your ear recognizes this return home instantly, instinctively, without you needing to read a single page of formal music theory.
Now, there is a fascinating psychological hurdle we must address here. It might seem obvious, but a circle is a circle. Yet I see so many students reach that final G7, stop completely, look down at their hands, take a deep breath, and then restart the C major. You must resist this temptation. You absolutely must mentally and physically wire that final chord directly back to the first. Remember, there is no finish line, there is only the unbroken loop.
So, the crucial point is this. If you take absolutely nothing else away from our explainer today, I want you to engrave this golden rule into your mind. You can be late to place the chord, but you must never stop the rhythm. Let me be crystal clear about this. If your fretboard hand fumbles, if a finger arrives a half second late, or if a string sounds muted, forgive yourself instantly. Move on. But your strumming hand must continue moving.
You see, the strumming hand is the very heartbeat of the guitar. When you accompany a song, it isn't technical perfection that gives the music life, it is the constant, reliable pulse of the rhythm. That continuous movement is quite literally the lungs of the song. If the rhythm stutters and stops, the music literally stops breathing. You must maintain the engine of your right hand, no matter what happens down there on the frets.
All right, having established that golden rule, let's move on to our second sequence, the circle of G, or the luminous progression.
As soon as you strike the first chord of this new progression, you're going to notice a distinct shift in the mood. It's noticeably brighter, more cheerful, and perfectly suited for modern pop and rock anthems. The family of chords here is G major, E minor, A minor, and D major. I want you to apply that exact same faithful double rhythm, our pam-pop-pam-pa-papa-dom, to this new sequence. Work through the three phases just like before. As you do, pay close attention to how the sonic landscape instantly opens up. It feels incredibly direct, expansive, and undeniably song-like. Now, I want you to actively compare the emotional weight of both circles. The circle of C, well, it feels classic, deeply rounded, and perfectly balanced, almost like an old, comforting folktale. But the circle of G, that feels luminous, wide open, really driving you forward with that modern pop and rock energy. Yet, despite their vastly different characters, they both share that identical underlying equilibrium. They both spin perfectly on the wheel of music.
Once you're feeling comfortable with those two, I invite you to explore two beautiful variations. Circle 3, which moves from G to E minor to C and then to D, carries a wonderfully warm, contemporary, and uplifting feel. And then there's Circle 4, A minor to D minor to E major and back to A minor. This one is entirely different. It's nostalgic, slightly melancholic, issuing this slow, romantic invitation to play a gentle rumba.
We are reaching the end of our time together today, so let's strictly summarize your practice mandate going forward. Number 1, you will apply the 3 phases, 3 bars, 2 bars, 1 bar, to every single circle we've discussed. Number 2, you will never ever stop the rhythm of your strumming hand. Number 3, you will relentlessly connect the end of the circle back to the beginning. And finally, quite naturally, you will always tune your guitar before you play a single note.
If you commit to this, if you really put the time in, something truly profound is going to happen. These harmonic circles are the invisible skeleton, the very grammar of modern music. By internalizing them, you're no longer just memorizing arbitrary shapes on a piece of wood. You are acquiring a universal vocabulary. You are empowering yourself to sit down and communicate musically with absolutely any guitarist anywhere in the world. Because from today onwards, the guitar in your hands no longer simply repeats mechanical exercises. It begins to genuinely speak the language of songs. I am so immensely proud of the progress you're making. Keep your rhythm steady, keep that wheel turning, and I warmly invite you to continue this beautiful journey with me in the next installment of our L Method series. Until then, what will your guitar say now that it finally knows how to speak?